All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pop Go the Rockers. I am one of your three hosts, Joseph Staub, and with me, as always, are my two other hosts, Jerry Supe. How are you doing here this evening, Jerry?
I'm doing good. I just bought the new Lamb of God album. I know that's not exactly pop, but it just tells you what kind of music that I'm used to listening to.
I'm sorry
But
for
I'm
your
doing great
ears.
though. Yeah. I know I'm not the only person that likes Lamb of God, but it
Not
is
a
what
Lamb
it
of
is.
God fan, and I've seen him
Yeah.
live twice.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
But
Not a
I've been
fan.
studying up on my pop. I just bought this book today.
Oh, there you go.
Oh
There you go.
wow.
Dua Lipa, which I'll probably be picking one of her albums next. Looking forward to reading
Cool.
this book, so we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
Awesome. And our third host, Andy Rodriguez. How are you doing here this evening, Andy?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here. I love doing this on a Monday to get my podcasting week kicked off the right way. And I'm very excited to talk about this album. So I'm ready to go.
Awesome. And this week we are going to be talking about the second studio album from the New Zealand singer-songwriter Lorde. The album Melodrama came out in 2017, and her main collaborator on this album is someone who we've talked about a couple times already on this show,
Mhm.
Jack Antonoff, who is prolific in the pop world. He started out as the guitarist for the band Fun, and then after they broke up, he founded Bleachers as his main project. And then from there, he went on to work with Taylor Swift as one of her main collaborators. He's worked with Lana Del Rey. He's worked with Lorde quite a bit. He's worked with St. Vincent and a lot of other artists that have become very, very popular over the last 10 or so years. And so he is a very big name in the pop world. And this was Lorde's first collaboration with Jack Antonoff. They would go on to work on her follow up album as well. So I believe she was happy with the collaboration on this album. And really, when this album came out, first of all, critics fell in love with this album. And it was a deliberate move away from her debut album, Pure Heroin, that broke fairly big a few years prior to this. That album was a very minimalist album. It was a very sparsely produced album, a lot of kind of bare soundscapes. On this album, to the opposite end of the spectrum, this is a very maximalist album. A lot of production on this album, a lot of very deep soundscapes, a lot of different stuff going on with sampling and with different instrumentation and all kinds of different stuff on this album. And so it was a very deliberate departure from her debut album. And spoiler alert now, I think it's for all the best. Just putting it out there now, I chose this album very particularly. I fucking love this album. This is one of my favorite pop albums of the last 10 years. Um, I really, really love this album, and I'm really excited to be able to talk about it here and hopefully share those feelings with you guys. So we'll start with Jerry. Do you have any kind of background? I know we've talked a little bit in the past. Do you have any background with Lorde as far as like hearing her music or knowing of her?
Yeah, I mean, I am familiar with her two big hits. I think they were Team and Royals, I believe, off her
Yeah.
Pure Heroin album. They were all over the place. I mean, that album I think was huge. Um, Great voice. I had a problem with her at first. She seemed very standoffish in interviews and stuff at first. You know what I mean? She seemed very. I forget who it was. It was some guy that would say that he would love to do a collaboration with, and she was like, "Ew, that guy's old." I mean, something she's but she not exactly the word like I'm saying, but like she was really kind of snobbish towards that remark. And some of her interviews, she seemed a little bit standoffish, but so I kind of like, I'm like, and why should I, follow her, anymore? But when you mentioned this today, what we were doing, I went back and I did some research on her, and she may have just grown up a little bit, and she's very, very she gives to charities. She's very a philanthropist. She seems very grateful for her success. And I, spoiler alert, I I didn't take your advice. I only listened to it one time. I didn't need to listen to it two times because it's a fucking outstanding record. So I didn't need to listen to it twice to like it because I liked it from the beginning. Definitely, like you said, You said, like you said, their first album was minimally produced. This one might be overproduced, but in this pop music, I think overproduction is good. And there's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of, like, instead of guitar fills, we get vocal fills and weird instrumental fills, which I dig a lot. And her voice is incredible on this one. And I'm glad. I would never have gone to this album ever, probably, because my original opinion ever stood. You know what I mean? She seems like a real bitch. Excuse me, but obviously I'm wrong, and I'm glad that I bought the CD. I listened to it. I bought it 20 minutes ago. It was used. I got it used. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that rich, so I got to keep buying these things used. But yeah, I love this CD, and I am a fan of her. So yeah.
Awesome. Andy, what is your background? Did you really know much about Lorde going into this, or was this a newer artist that you really didn't know too much about?
No, when she came out with her debut album, Pure Heroine, it was played a lot on alt nation, and then it moved over to the pop side. So it started off as a alternative album, and then it turned over across the pop lines. And I heard that album, and I liked the hit songs, just like Jerry was saying. But then after that, I just kind of left it alone. Um, I think it took her several years to come out with a second album. After that, you lose interest. So when she did come out with another album, it's like, well, I'm just not going to hear it. So I didn't. But I'm glad that you picked this because it kind of continued what I had been wanting to hear from her. And there's a couple of surprises. Like I didn't know about Jack Antonoff until you had mentioned it. No, I had read it where he co-wrote like 12 out of 13 songs on here. But I did not know about St. Vincent. I did not know
Yes.
that he did that with St. Vincent as well, which St. Vincent's another band that I do dig quite a bit. Now, y'all were talking about the production. It is overproduced to the point where you cannot mistake this for a alternative album. This is pure pop by her vocals and her own backing vocals. You can tell completely different from her first album, which was a big risk. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something that I said to Jerry and Andy earlier today in our group chat that honestly, of the albums we've covered so far, this is probably the one that production wise is the most straightforward pop album that we've covered so far, because we've covered a lot of stuff that has more of an alternative leaning to it, or more new wave, or when we did Taylor Swift, that's a very mixture of different genres. This is a straight ahead pop album, production wise especially, and I really dig that about this album. It took me a while to come around to this album, even to find it. Like you guys said, her debut album was huge when I was in high school. Again, it's one of these, pretty much every artist we've covered so far, except for Somber, really first hit big when I was in high school. And so I remember when Royals came out, and I remember when Team came out, and I remember when all those singles from that debut album came out, and they were everywhere. And I would hear all those songs on the radio, and I'm like, they're good, but it didn't really grab me like some of the other stuff around that same time. Fast forward a couple years, and I hear the first track from this album, Green Light, and I'm just like, whoa, this is different for her from what I heard from the first album, and it really grabbed me. And to this day, Green Light, my friends that live really close to me that I've known my entire life, that is a song that we listen to a lot when we get together. A lot of these different artists. One of my friends is actually the first person that ever played Bleachers for me. So it's like a lot of those artists that are all in this same kind of area. I know because of that group of friends, and so that was the first time I heard anything off this album. And then I went back and I listened to this album, and this album really grabbed me. And I do like her debut album, and I really haven't listened. I know she's done a couple albums since this album, but I really haven't dug into them too much. I do want to, now that we've been going back and listening to this stuff more. I just downloaded them, and I'm going to be listening to them coming up here soon. But this album really, for the last couple of years, has grabbed me as a pop album that I go back to quite a bit. And so I'm really, really looking forward to talking about some of these songs. So, as we usually do, I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear a couple different songs that really kind of stuck out to you and kind of what you thought about the album overall. So, Jerry, what are a couple songs that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take the last track, Perfect Places. That's the only one that I can compare to what sounds like her first album. It kind of has that Royals pace to it, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Drum beat to it, the dun 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 dun, dun, you know, like Team and all that. I dig that song. I like the pace of it. I love her voice in every one of these songs, but there's particular songs that I really love it, and this is one of them. I gotta go with uh the liability and the liability reprise, man. Beautiful fucking work there. I actually, you know what, I kind of, maybe you can call me wrong, but I hear a lot of Lana Del Rey in that song. I do. I hear
Mm-hmm.
that type of tone to her voice. I don't know, I tried looking at her influences, I really couldn't find any, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lana probably is a she's only 29. Lorde is. And
Mm-hmm.
it seems like she's been
Yeah.
around forever now. It's like fuck. So I think that's a great tune. And you mentioned Green Light, man. I first heard that song, I was hooked on this album, man. Those rumors have big teeth and they bite you. I love that fucking line, dude. That's so fucking cool. Very
There's
bassy.
some great lyrics on this album.
A lot of that bass where you used to hear in the fucking people drive by, boom, boom, boom in the car. That's the type of bass you hear from there. Used to drive me fucking nuts, but it is what it is, I guess. But and then Homemade Dynamite, I gotta say, those fucking got metal lyrics in there, dude. Blow shit up with Homemade Dynamite. That's fucking metal, dude. I was blown away by the lyrics on this album. Incredibly well written lyrics. Let's see. Sober has a really cool vocal tone to it again. Like I say, very bassy. And like that's one of those songs that has all those vocal fills, like you mentioned, just different, all kinds of stuff happening. Like I said, metal songs have guitar fills. This album has all kinds of weird metal, not metal, but poppy vocal sampling or whatever you want to call it. I'm not too familiar with the pop terminology, folks, so just bear with me. But I really dig as a whole the piano playing in this whole album. I think her voice and the piano, like Lady Gaga and the piano, you put those two together, I think they sound amazing. And I think Lorde also sounds great with just her and the piano. Supercut, very modern day pop sound. It's definitely very modern day pop. And as we said, a lot of this stuff is very overproduced, well produced, and it's supposed to be overproduced, like I said, because that's what pop music is all about. It's it's well, I guess it is kind of a visual experience too, but it's more of a, I don't know. It is more of a listen, I guess. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
especially when you put a pair of headphones on and you just hear all kinds of different stuff. That's what I love about music is being able to hear all these little, bells and whistles in these songs. And a lot of these songs have a lot of them. Um, Hard feelings. Very, very sexy vocal. I love her voice on that one. It's very sexy. Like I said, again, that reverb bass effect through a lot of her songs, I think works wonderful. And that's the song I really hear a lot of. Well, no, it's Liability. I hear a lot of Del Rey, but I also hear a lot in Hard Feelings and what's another? The Louvre, I think. Is it called the
Mm-hmm.
Louvre?
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only guitar you hear on this album, I think. But it works. You get the little dun 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 dun, and her voice again works very well with all these instruments. So. Yeah, I mean, to me, there's not a dud on this album. I enjoyed every song, and I think I'm going to enjoy them more as I listen to this album. So, yeah, pretty much, I could talk about every one of these songs and not say a bad thing about them.
Awesome. Andy, what about you? What are some songs that you wanted to highlight from this album?
Well, first of all, I wanted to what really jumped out at me. If you really think about it, the first thing that really jumps out is the album cover compared to the first one. It's just in black and white. Over here, you have a different color palettes. Kind of looks like what it's going to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of songs that I wanted to pinpoint. I thought Green Light was fantastic. It was kind of like a pop epic opener, if I can go that route. And it really is. There's a lot of changes with hooks that are very hooky. And then I'm going to bookend it with the last track, the first track and the last track being Perfect Places. To me, that was, like Jerry said, it was kind of like off the first album, but a little bit more poppier, a little bit more easily accessible, even though that first album sold millions, but it was not that accessible of an album like this one. This album was a little bit easier to get into, but
Yeah.
with that being said, it still left me kind of. I think it's the overproduction that kind of left me kind of empty in certain parts. And the Jack Antonoff um, songwriting. When I would listen to the song patterns, because I heard this album like 6 times as of I started Friday. I started listening to this. There's a lot of Taylor Swift vocal patterns on here as well that I hear that would just jumped out at me pretty quickly. With that being said, I thought this album was okay. It's not something that I'm going to go back on, but I'm glad that I listened to it, and I'm glad that I was introduced to it. But it's not going to be on a regular rotation for me. I'll probably hear it, but not a. I'll probably put it on some kind of playlist for me. But if I had to rank it, I would give it about a B for me.
That's still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be one of these people that just, I hate it. I have to give merits where merits are supposed to be given. If something is good, but it's not my cup of tea, that doesn't mean it's not good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I need to give it its props for what it is, and it's a very well done pop album.
Well, Joe had told me, but I said I was going to listen to it before, only one time. He's like,
Yeah,
listen to it a few times, you'll like it more. I didn't need to because I enjoyed it the first time, but maybe you should give it a couple more times.
yeah,
Maybe
sure.
you might like it more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this is an album that every time I listen to it, I like it more and more. Um, One of the things I really like about this is that it feels like an album, which I think is very intentional. I mean, you have the reprises, you have
Yeah.
um the song Melodrama being called Sober 2 because it calls back to parts from Sober. Um and it really flows like an album, in my opinion. It's actually been, some people have called it a concept album. Um it has that kind of a feel to it. Like you said, Greenlight as an opener really just grabs you right away and it pulls you in. And I love how that flows right into Sober, which there's so many cool like production things in Sober that are just like, there's so many different things going on that you try all competing to grab your attention. And I really love that. And still, even through all that, I think her vocals are perfectly placed in the mix, that the vocals are still what kind of grounds you in the song. Even though there's all this different production stuff going on, there's these horns and there's the bass and there's this like kind of like, there's a lot of like trap drum beats and stuff throughout this album. Her vocals really ground the album on everything from the songs that are really poppy to a song where it's just her and a piano, because there's a couple of those. I mean, there's Liability, there's Writer in the Dark, all of which have this great feel. Like Jerry said, I love just hearing her singing with a piano. It is
Oh yeah, that part
beautiful.
of Liability where before it goes to that chorus where she's like
Yeah.
the finger snapping with it. It's just
Yeah.
so fucking cool. And that's again reminded me of, Lana Del Rey. But
Mm-hmm.
to me this was a, just I mean another thing I might add is if I may um her range on Rider in the Dark. Is that the name of the
Mm-hmm.
song?
Yeah.
Those high notes she reaches on that are incredible,
Yeah.
man. Uh,
She goes from like the low, she goes like the really low range when she's singing the chorus into that beautiful high part. I love the dynamic shift there, and that she's able to pull that off. I think that she has a great voice, and I think that's a song that really shows her vocal range and her vocal quality, because she has a powerful lower voice, but also she's not just going up into a falsetto. She is
He's
powerful even up in that
belting it.
higher range. It's
And
really,
it's
really, yeah.
not that we care too much about Rolling Stones, but this album's already in their top 500 of all time albums, so that's something
Yeah.
right there.
Well, yeah.
And this woman's only 29 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be fun watching her in her real mature years, what of a mature singer and songwriter she becomes. I'm looking forward to that.
I know she just put out an album last year, I think it was. So I'm interested to hear that one. I've heard that one got really good reviews. So
Oh,
I want to check that one out.
what's it called? Solar
Um,
Power? No,
that was two
Virgin,
albums ago.
Virgin,
Virgin,
That was
yeah,
Virgin.
before. Yeah.
yeah. But I want to check that one out because I heard that one got really good reviews. I mean, Melodrama got great reviews.
Oh yes,
It was up for album of the year at the Grammys that year. It
Right.
lost to Bruno Mars.
and Solar Power's got that camera angle
Yeah.
on the album cover.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But I
Perfectly
really
placed.
I think that Andy had a great point with like the album cover right away. It's very different from what Pure Heroin. I mean, Pure Heroin was just the album title on a black
Black and white.
screen.
Yeah.
And with this, you have this beautiful imagery on the album cover. This is all these deep tones and colors, and it's still very dark, but also there's a lot more color in it. I think that is a perfect representation of the album because there's all these different shades throughout, but it is a very colorful album. And I think that one that Jerry mentioned a little bit, "The Louvre" is one of my favorite songs on the album. I think her voice, but also the different production on that. There's some different sounds than you hear on the rest of the album. I mean, one of the coolest things about the album on Hard Feelings, they use the sound of like scraping metal melodically. Like they get pitches out of scraping metal, and it's like, what is this, Lou Reed? Like,
Right? You read. Wow.
but I mean, it's something so unique, but it fits. And then you have later in that song, it samples the "In the Air Tonight" drum part when it goes into the Loveless part of the song. But there's just so many unique sounds throughout this album. And then another one that you mentioned, Jerry, that I think is just a perfect pop song is "Supercut." I think that is probably my favorite song on the second half of the album. I mean, it's just a perfect pop song. And then the
It's got a
closure.
feel good beat to it. It's
Yeah.
got a feel good beat to it.
It does.
Well,
It does. I really love that track, and then Perfect Places. I completely agree. It kind of does harken back to her debut album, and it feels like a bit of a continuation of that. And that was one of the big singles off this album. Was Greenlight and Perfect Places were the big singles. And you can really hear the potential that song had. But yeah, I'm with Jerry. There's not a bad thing I could say about any song on this album. I love this is an album that I just love pressing play and just letting it go. And it's just I love just sitting back and listening to it because it really is just, in my opinion, a really, really rewarding listening experience just to start it at the beginning and let it go through all the light and the shade, all the different kind of the depths the album goes through. And I, like Jerry said as well, I think the lyrics on this album, I really, really dig the lyrics on this album. You can tell that she is putting a lot of thought into the lyrics. Like I said, with the kind of idea that this might be some kind of a concept album, it's kind of going through this person's struggles. Starting out with Green Light and going through Sober and Liability, and it's just this person struggling with being accepted by society and struggling with mental health and struggling with their own addiction in a way, and how it relates to the people around them. And I think it's a really, really lyrically deep album, and I really enjoy that a lot.
And it's completely opposite from what the first album was, because the first album was just, a rich teenager just having a great time in life. And then, you get a little bit older, you start to experience life's trials. And that's another good thing about these young pop stars that we're talking about, is that they're songwriters. So their subject matter is completely different from what the national media thinks that pop really is. Do you know what I mean? Did they put crap out there front and center, but then you have people like Lorde and Lana that are miles above in songwriting, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that
sorry,
what were
Joe,
you
go
saying,
ahead.
Jerry?
I was going to say, I gotta get some props to Jack Antonoff too. The
Oh yeah,
guy's a pop master as far as
yeah,
writing,
yeah,
you know. So
No, yeah,
give him
he's
some credit.
probably the most important creative figure in the world of pop music in the last 10 years.
yeah.
Just with the amount of people that he's worked with that have made it
Yeah,
big and the hand he's had in so many big albums. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
he's basically been probably Taylor Swift's biggest collaborator for the last 10
Yeah,
years, ever since 1989 came out. And then
yeah, pretty much that. Yeah, pretty much that
yeah,
Folklore and Evermore album were just her and him in the
yeah,
studio during the COVID thing, writing songs,
Yep,
man. So
yep.
pretty
He's the
cool.
Diane
There's a
Warren.
document. There's a documentary about that period between those two. It's pretty cool.
mm-hmm,
I listened to that. I watched it a while back. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm
He's the
sorry, Joe. I didn't mean
Diane.
to interrupt you, brother.
Oh no, it's all right. He's the Diane Warren of the past 10 years.
Really though, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, but with a
yeah.
lot more talent. Um,
He just
because he
has
can
his
produce.
hands in a lot of stuff, and that's what
Yes.
kind of has been kind of bothering me at the same time because I'm a Bleachers fan, and it's been a few years since we've had something new from them. So I'm like, I guess I could take the good and the bad, but I
Yeah.
sure would like to. I know that there's another Bleachers album that's coming out probably in a month or so, and maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Um,
I would love to talk about that.
because I will probably pick it because I'm a Bleacher fan. So
Yeah.
they've got a single out right now for that, and every time it comes on, my wife doesn't like it, so she changes. I was like, I haven't heard that song yet, so I gotta hear it on my own time.
But I really agree with what you're saying, Andy, about like hearing these artists, especially as they get older and more mature, and you hear the way that their songwriting changes and the things that they talk about. I mean, probably the most famous example of that in the modern era is Adele. I mean,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
have her albums are literally named after the
the
age that
year.
she was when she wrote the album.
Yeah,
And I think that you hear the evolution and the maturity in throughout that discography, and you hear it in artists like Lorde as well, because you see this is where she was when she was a teenager writing her debut album, and it's a lot of kind of vapid talk about getting rich and living life and all this stuff,
yeah,
and then 4 years later when this album
boom.
comes out she realizes, oh my, this is what's going on in my life now. I'm in a different place, whether or not the lyrics are autobiographical. But I mean, to be
You
able to
can
write
tell.
lyrics like this, you have to have some kind of a personal experience with this sort of stuff. Whether it's completely her experience or not, she still has to have some of that own experience. Some of the lyrics in this album are just too on the nose to not be
It's too
from her
real.
own personal
I think
experience.
so
It's too
too
real.
because
Mhm.
it doesn't seem fake at all. It
No.
doesn't. It seems very legit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we're rockers. We love rock and roll, and that's about 25% of the songs is the songwriting. And when we
Yeah,
gravitate towards an artist, we say like Zeppelin or Elton John, their songwriting takes us on a journey through their life. It changes from album to album, and that's what these young ladies are doing for the world of pop. The same thing with Taylor Swift. People are, oh well, she just writes about being in love. That's where she's at in life right now. That's where
yeah,
these people are. They're singing about what they know and what's going on in their life, and I think it's awesome that they're doing this because that's
Yep.
been realness has been missing from the world in pop for quite some time now, and
Yeah.
it's coming back.
There
So
there was a long stretch there throughout especially like the late 90s through to I'd say probably right around when Taylor Swift and Adele started getting big, where it was
yeah,
just you did not have that in pop music. It was boy bands, or it was that was when hip hop and rap were hitting really
yeah,
big, and that was just like the image above all else.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was Jay-Z and Kanye and all that stuff that were hitting big in the late 2000s. I mean, there's some stuff in some of Beyonce's music actually, and surprisingly, it's the more recent albums. It's not the older stuff. She, even somebody of her caliber, has been kind of shifted with the moving trend in pop music to write more personal lyrics.
Right,
You look
right.
at
And it's
you look
working.
at her you look at Crazy in Love from like 2003 versus the stuff she was writing in like 2018, night and day lyrically of like what she's talking about.
Yeah.
In one, it's a vapid pop song about being in love, versus when she did something like Formation, where she's talking about like race and important issues in her own life. And you see that transformation, and it's because of those kind of artists that we're talking about, I think, that really reinvigorated the importance of lyrics and
Yes.
story and writing into music. And I think this is honestly, for what anyone wants to say about pop music, and I think a lot of people were really turned off of pop music because of that stuff in the late 90s and the early
Yeah.
2000s,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that they don't realize how much great stuff is out there right now. They've
How
closed
much
their
things
minds
have
off to
changed.
it
I
because of
did.
all that time, that they're missing all this. And I don't think there could be a better time for us to be diving into something
I
like this,
agree.
because
I think so too.
there's so much great stuff out there that people just really have a closed mind to, because they were turned off for so long by such just commercial, just corporate nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and case in point, in the early 2000s, I like Kelly Clarkson. I do. I
Mhm.
think she's a fantastic singer, but her songs have no substance. They're just good songs. There's nothing about her that are in these songs. But right now in the world of pop, I mean, they are laying everything out there. And I really think that pop music is better for it. These young women are going out there brave and just laying it all out, talking about fuck my way to the top. Why not? And just I mean that's just an example of taking the bull by its horns, and that's what they're
Yeah.
doing. And that has been missed because that was so important in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. You had Madonna, Whitney Houston, and Janet Jackson and Mariah Carey. All these pop stars had something to say every single time, and we lost that for a while, and they're gaining it back. And they're doing it art, and they're doing it arty. You know what I mean? They're doing it with great art along with their words.
And
So
I think a lot of these people nowadays, especially like Lorde and Taylor Swift, they have their input in their music now. It's not
yeah,
just some song a songwriter. That was Kelly Clarkson's biggest problem. Like you said, her songs have no substance, is because pretty much all her songs are written by other people. I
right.
mean, granted, a lot of pop songs have like some of them have like 30 different writers. They do, but at
Yeah,
least you'll see that person's name in it written like like Taylor Swift has a song, or Beyonce has like a song with like I don't know, like I think it was like what 14 different
there's like
songwriters on
seven or
it or
eight.
something like that. But her name was on there, so I guess there's a little piece of her in these songs somewhere. But the last few albums, like from Taylor Swift and Lana Del Rey, maybe one songwriter, two maybe at the most.
Yeah,
And that's just for like the sampling and all that shit mostly. But yeah, it's good to see these people putting their own input into these songs. It's basically what I'm trying to get at here.
yeah,
So good for them. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. Alrighty. So as we've been doing the past couple shows, we'll just go quickly around the horn, and we'll say whether we give this album a thumbs up, and we'll just give our closing thoughts here before we wrap things up. So Jerry, what are your
Oh,
closing thoughts on Lorde's Melodrama?
definitely thumbs up in my opinion. I wasn't expecting much from it because, like I said, I had a really bad first impression of Lord as a person, and I'm glad that I was able to go read back more into it and find out that I'm wrong yet again, which I'm fine with being wrong. I want people to win. I really do.
yeah,
And this album is a winner. Like I said, I but just purchased this album about an hour ago. Looking forward to listening to this more and her other two. I have no idea what her other two albums sound like, so I will probably be diving deep into them as well. So yeah, great pick. Definite thumbs up for me, man.
Awesome. Andy, how about you? What are some closing thoughts here?
yeah. Like I had said, I gave it a B, which is average, but it's not. It's more than just this album. It's the movement that's going on in the world of pop music. I know that this album was about 10 years ago, but still carrying a lot of weight. And it might have even been one of the beginning albums of this movement, because this really is a movement, and we need to be paying attention. And I like the way that it's not being it's not being advertised that way. Remember Lilith Fair, where the media fucked all that up, and all this girl power, and it just they're not doing any of that, and they're leaving these artists alone to do what they want to do, and we are getting the best for it. I know that I gave this album a B, but I do want to hear her next two albums, because I'm curious to see which way is she going to go. So but thanks for bringing this to my attention. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So
of
is
course.
it up or down or a middle one again?
I'm middle one again, bro. The B, sorry, but yeah, it's gonna be middle one.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I said, it was hard for me to be in any way impartial about this album, because I've just had such a history with this album, and huge thumbs up for me. Just such an important album for me in terms of pop music of the last 10 years. This is just an album that I come back to so much, and an album that I never get tired of listening to, and I love it more every time I hear it. And so I really was happy to be able to share this with you guys, and really to have this conversation. I think it's an important conversation to have, especially for anyone who's listening to this who might not really know what's going on in pop music right now, or might have been turned off because of some of that kind of corporate kind of pushing of certain stuff 20 years ago that really is no longer the case. And I think that there's a lot of great stuff going on in pop music right now, and I think this is a big part of it. And I really, really loved this conversation that we've gotten to have here tonight about this album and what it means overall in the world of pop music. So yeah, that's what we think about Lorde's Melodrama album. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. We really appreciate the support, the comments we've been getting so far. We're just getting started on this, but we have high hopes to really kind of take off with this and just cover so much more, and really just share our passion for music with all of you, and in doing so discover more music that we're passionate about. So I know personally I've been having such a great time doing this. I know Jerry and Andy as well have been talking about how much of a great time they've been having doing this. We really hope you have a great time listening to us, and we really would love to hear what you think. We'd love for some recommendations from you guys as we start to get into more of these artists. What are some things you want to hear us cover, or just things you want us to listen to, even if it's not to cover on the show? Just things like, hey, check this out. I think you might like this. Or if you like this is an artist, or this is an album that I really dig. You should check this out. We'd love to hear that from you guys. We're always looking for new stuff to listen to. Clearly, by just the premise of this show, we are always looking to find more music that we love. And so we love to check anything out that you guys recommend for us. So thank you all so much for all the support so far, all the views, all the comments. We really appreciate it. And we will be seeing you coming up here next week. Andy, what is our next episode?
Yeah, our next episode, we are going to be doing Bruno Mars, The Romantic. That album came out probably we're going on a month now. And I'm going to be excited to see what y'all say about that album. I really enjoy. I'll talk about it next week.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. We're picking albums, so there's a 99% chance we're gonna like the album that we're picking. So exactly. I feel like I might be going off the rails here eventually, but pick an album I've never heard of, or an artist I've never heard of.
It's going to be a little bit before I get comfortable enough to do that, but I have a short list of things that I'm going to be picking coming up. But So we're looking forward to covering Bruno Mars's brand new album, The Romantic, here on the show next week. So be sure to tune in for that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Pop Go the Rockers.
Take care.
Bye, guys.